don't know.
Yeah, you could say that it'll become worse.
Yes,
Okay.
possible.
But then the assessment has to be that did it become worse after 71? So when we did the into 2, did it become worse? And if we do the into 4 further, does it become
Yes.
worse? It's unpredictable. Who knows?
It became worse initially in Bangladesh as well till Sheikh Hasina came. And now again we have gone back to the same old 1975 time. And we really don't know if this Pakistan implodes, which is possible. Yeah, well, you may have four more different
Okay,
entities to deal with.
balkanization, ladies and gentlemen, does it improve things or make things worse? That is a very, very long conversation. Is Czechia and the Slovak Republic and is Albania and all these areas where the word balkanization comes from, are these better off today than when they were Serbia? Are they better off than when they were the Austro-Hungarian Empire? We can have this conversation for years and years, and then there's no straight answer anybody can give you. But the balkanization is not going to happen per force. We are not going to do what we did in 71, which is to go and march to Balochistan within 2 weeks and liberate Quetta. It's going to happen through internal collapse, like the Soviet Union collapsed. Now, when it happens, what it happens, you'd think it's not possible. Just like you would have thought if you were sitting in November of 1971, you wouldn't have thought that East Pakistan will cease to exist next week. Okay? Who would have thought that? Nixon didn't think it, Yahya didn't think it, Niazi didn't think it, okay? And then it happened. So you'll be surprised how quickly it can suddenly happen. It's a domino. When it starts falling, it can fall very, very rapidly. But at this point in time, we don't know. Ambassador Kapoor is joining us. Pradeep ji, we're absorbing a lot. Obviously, it's been a sensitive and complex night as we head into the day of the 8th. There has been a lot of shelling that is going on, but there are lots of things that are coming, and we are not speaking in a vacuum. So I want you to address this first. What are the Pakistanis saying? Because they have an audience whether we like it or not. All right. They are saying that they have already hit back. They've taken down 5 aircraft, 1 drone, okay, and caused a lot of casualties. Then in addition, they've said that if India tries again, then we will hit back again. Now, the Pakistani social media, which of course is Khwaja Asif's principal source, as he's informed CNN yesterday that he gets his information from social media, the Pakistani defense minister, he has come and been speaking as well. So, do we need as a country to address anything the Pakistanis are saying, or can we just leave them to their own devices?
Rishabh, I think, in any such situation, the war of words and the war of narrative and the war of information is a very important component. And today, with the role that social media plays, it is even more important. Now, there's a lot of Western media, mainstream media, which is biased, which is always giving the accounts in a very negative way for India. And some of it has changed, some of it is changing. And we have to also see how to bring about enough pressure to bear on some of these channels. Like BBC, there were comments by the British government and British MPs that the BBC reporting is so absolutely out of reality, out of sync with reality. So a lot of pressure has to be brought on all these channels and all these mainstream media, even the print media, like Wall Street Journal or Washington Post or New York Times or any of the other, The Economist, for example. That is important. But overall, what I also want to, discuss very briefly here is what is our long-term goal? How do we come to a situation where we try to make sure that the events of April 26 are not repeated, if possible at all, or not repeated in a hurry for the next 20 years or more? So how do we come to that point? How do we take with us the international community? How do we put sufficient pressure on Pakistan so that it is not allowed, for example, to use its military hardware given by America against India, so that there are sufficient stops and sort of blocks on doing that? How do we also disable them from access to international aid till they give very firm commitments, and there's a lot of conditionalities and monitoring? How can they be put on the grey list of FATF by the UN, which will
Okay,
automatically create a
Ambassador
lot
Pradeep
of
Kapoor, let
difficulties?
us
So
let us
all
then gauge our successes, because we have had some successes. Okay, we have greatly curtailed the pension for the Saudis to open their coffers for Pakistan's begging bowl whenever required. Okay, it has been greatly curtailed. It's never going to be zero. Okay, but it's been greatly curtailed. The same is true of the Emiratis. Okay, in many cases, Pakistanis have become persona non grata in several of these places. They're not welcome there anymore. Okay, and Dubai, I mean, Dawood was sitting in Dubai for the longest time, operating out of there. He's been kicked out. He's gone. So these are successes. We probably made some headway with the Americans, but let's face it, even today the Americans are still talking about good relations with both sides.
Yes, that is correct. And I have been going for meetings on the Hill for the last 3 4 days, also organized by many the Bharatiya organizations in the US. And we have had a lot of interactions with a large number of congressmen and senators across the board from both the parties. And they do talk about the necessity of their maintaining their relations and keeping their channels open with Pakistan. So that is a mindset.
Okay, I'm
But
trying to
once
understand why.
they
I could understand this 5 years ago because, oh, our supply routes have to go. For people watching the broadcast in India, I need you to understand America has huge existential problems with Iranians. All right. That's their so called axis of evil, Iran, North Korea. Okay. So that's one side. All right. Then you had Afghanistan, and Pakistan has been, CETO, CENTO, NATO ally for donkey's years, since well before I was born. So there is a history to this. So the reference to context, Ambassador Kapoor, is that now that Afghanistan is not a question per se, why is there still such a fascination for the Pakistanis? You would have thought that after they pulled out Osama from Pakistan, that was the end of it, ke bhai bas bahut ho gaya.
So, Rishabh, that's a very good question. What I see here is the following. Firstly, the influence of the Muslim staffers has been very significant, in the sense that with the Democrat administration in particular, a lot of the senators and congressmen had Muslim staffers in their offices who would define the narrative for them. And I've spoken to a lot of prominent Bharatiya diaspora in the US who have very good relations directly with the senators and congressmen. But whenever they try to connect with them or convey any message to them or get any feedback from them or input from them or support from them on this cause for Bharat, they were told that the senator or congressman is not available or not accessible. And whenever they would meet them at any social gathering, those senators or congressmen would tell them that they never even learnt about their request for this meeting or
Okay,
this
so
input.
Ambassador Kapoor, I was talking to an American yesterday and asked him the same question. Okay, and I said, after you found Osama, how is there still support? And he said, if there is still support for Hamas, if there's support for Hezbollah, okay, now you'd think that's absolutely absurd. But there are many people here who support Hamas and Hezbollah. They march on the streets in support of Hamas and Hezbollah. So what are you talking about LET and Jaish-e-Mohammed and Pakistan? So what's the thinking process? I think, are they also out of control of the thinking process?
So that's where I was coming to, Rishabh, in the sense that the mindset is changing very slowly, but it is changing. I've seen that very palpably. Because, for example, just yesterday we met one of the congressmen who brought along his aide, whose name was a Hindu name, a Hindu lady, a very smart young person. And so now the inputs that he's going to get are again going to be very different from what they were getting earlier. So for him now to sit down with us for about 45 minutes and ask us questions as to how this can be sorted out so that India does not face this problem again was much easier than earlier, where his staffers would not even allow him more than 5 minutes in the room or a few minutes in the room, couple of minutes. So to that extent, with the Republicans particularly, there have been very significant changes. The presence of the Bharatiya diaspora is also useful to convey this narrative, because many of them say that they get a lot of funding for their elections from the Bharatiya diaspora.
Okay.
If
I'm sorry
that
to
is the
interrupt you, sir.
situation,
I'm going to come straight back to you. Breaking developments coming in.